Welcome to Study Live. In this session, we will be quickly revising the chapter Chemical Equilibrium. To discuss with this chapter, let me explain you what is the context of this chapter. That is, what are the new concepts that we are going to study in this chapter. The very first is the type of chemical reactions, that is reversible and irreversible chemical reactions. The second, we will be studying different types of physical and chemical equilibrium. In physical equilibrium, we will be studying solid liquid equilibrium, liquid gas equilibrium, solid vapor equilibrium, etc. In chemical equilibrium, we are mainly, this is the core of this chapter. Chemical equilibrium, we will be dealing with equilibrium constant. What is equilibrium exactly? Then equilibrium constant in terms of Kc and Kp, that is concentration and pressure. Further, we will be studying different factors which affects the process of equilibrium and the applications of equilibrium. Let us start our discussion with the very first examples given in our textbook. That is, as you can see, starting from natural waterfall, spreading of smoke from burning incense stick, diffusion of fragrance of flowers. Whenever we are thinking about these examples, the very first question that raises into our mind that whether all these processes or changes, are they reversible? Absolutely no. They take place only and only in one direction, correct? But if I tell you the example of melting of ice cube, then there is a question, because whenever ice cube melts down, it turns into liquid water. Again, if you remove the heat from the water, that is, you are freezing that liquid water, it will be again changing to solid ice cube. So, what we can conclude, the melting of ice or freezing of water is the reversible change, whereas the examples I have marked over here are irreversible one, correct? So, basically we can classify the changes or the chemical reaction that we found in our day-to-day life in a chemical reaction that we carry in a chemistry lab. They might be of two different types. Either they would be reversible in nature or they would be irreversible in nature, correct? Let us study one activity provided to us. Now, what is our activity? We need to dissolve 4 gram of cobalt chloride, that is COCl4, in 40 ml water. It forms a reddish pink solution, as they had mentioned. Now in this solution, add 60 ml of concentrated HCl and it will turn to violet. The same has been explained in a form of diagram below, as you can see over here, correct? Now, after addition of HCl, what we need to do, take 5 ml of this solution in another test tube and place it in a beaker containing ice water mixture, that is, we are freezing the solution or we are cooling the solution, correct? Now, the color of the solution will become pink. Place the same test tube in a beaker containing water at 90 degrees Celsius. Water at 90 degrees Celsius means absolutely we are heating the solution, and color of the solution turns to blue or purple, we can say. So, the major role is provided or played by this heat only, correct? The pink color solution on the left, on heating, gives us blue colored solution. Exact reversibly, whenever we are cooling this blue colored solution, it turns to pink red, correct? So, on provision of heat, color changes. On withdrawal of heat, again the color changes. So, this change indicates nothing but reversible chemical change, correct? And what are the reaction that takes place over here. These are the reaction. Whenever pink colored solution, that is hexaquo cobalt 2 ions, or the solution with these ions combines with chloride ions, they form a new compound of cobalt tetrachloride, that is of blue in color. On cooling, this cobalt tetrachloride forms hexaquo cobalt ion solution, that is again pink in color. So this is nothing but the reversible reaction also, correct? As you can see, the reaction in the above activity is an example of a reversible reaction. Why reversible reaction, student? It is not a change, it is a reaction, because as you can see, a reactant is completely converted into totally new product, correct? But whenever we think about ice to liquid water, and liquid water on heating will provide us water vapors, but this is not a reaction, rather this is a change, because we are just changing the state of the matter. And in this particular example, old reactant bonds are breaking down in order to form the new product bonds. This is a chemical reaction. And which type of reaction it is? Again, it is a reversible chemical reaction. To move ahead, whenever we think about reversible reaction, it is always indicated with this sign, which is known as reversible sign, correct? And the direction from reactants to products is which reaction, students? It is a forward reaction, and from products to reactant is called as reverse or the backward reaction. So whenever I will show the first arrow, this is our forward reaction, and the reversible is showing us reverse or backward reaction. Okay, you can see two more reactions given below. Hydrogen plus iodine gas giving 2HI. So H2 plus I2 combination giving 2HI. This one is our forward reaction, whereas from hydrogen iodide to elemental hydrogen and elemental iodine, again the decomposition of hydrogen iodide indicating us reverse or backward direction, correct? Now I hope the difference between reversible and irreversible chemical reaction is very much clear to all of you. Then let us move to the next one. In this session, now we are going to study the equilibrium. Now what is equilibrium? Obviously the word indicates that something is going to be equal, correct? What is going to be equal? Either the concentration or the quantity of particular state, correct? For example, we will be studying the decomposition of calcium carbonate, that is limestone, in two different systems, that is open system and closed system. But before that, what is the closed system? Let us have a look. What is closed system? There is no exchange of matter with the surroundings. This is the definition for closed system. And how it can be imagined, let me explain. Suppose I have drawn a cup of hot tea. From this cup, let us assume we have poured some quantity of hot tea or hot coffee in this. We can see vapors will be coming out of this, correct? Now vapor is nothing but gaseous state of the matter, and simultaneously it will be exchanging heat through the walls of this cup. Now heat is nothing but form of energy, whereas gas is nothing but state of the matter. So whenever a cup of hot tea or hot coffee is kept open in the room, what we observe is both matter and energy are getting exchanged between or with the surrounding, correct? Between the system and surrounding or with the surrounding. But in very next example, if you are covering this cup of tea or coffee with the lid, we have placed one cover on it. What will be the observation, students? That there will be exchange of energy only, but no vapors will be coming out. So in this there will be no exchange of matter, but there is exchange of energy only, and this is something called as closed system, whereas the previous one is our open system, correct? So now I hope you are very much clear with the concept of open and closed system. So our topic of discussion is whenever calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3, or which is also called as limestone, is decomposed in two different systems. For example, if in a test tube I have taken few amount of calcium carbonate, let us assume this is our calcium carbonate. In another test tube also we will be taking certain quantity of calcium carbonate. So now in both these test tubes what we have taken is CaCO3, and what we will be doing, we are going to heat both the test tubes, okay? So this will be carrying out decomposition of calcium carbonate. What will be our observation? And before this observation we need to make one arrangement. Second test tube will be covered so that no vapors shall get exchanged with the surrounding, correct? Now what is the chemical reaction that takes place over here? Calcium carbonate on heating will give us two different products. One is CO2 and second one is calcium oxide, correct? In a very first test tube, what we will be seeing is vapors of CO2, they will be deposited on the linings of this test tube also, and few vapors will be coming out. So whenever there is exchange of both matter and energy with the surrounding, this is our open system, correct? But in this test tube, what we can see, after certain time there will be some amount of calcium carbonate. I will be minimizing this amount, but certain amount of CaCO3 will be left as it is. Actually it is not as it is, but what happens exactly inside the test tube, vapors of CO2 will be coming out, but these vapors are not going to exchange with the surrounding. They will remain inside the test tube only. Simultaneously, calcium oxide and calcium carbonate, two solids are present in this test tube, but after some time quantity of all these three substances, that is calcium carbonate, CO2 and calcium oxide, will become equal in second test tube. So what I can show is CaCO3 in equilibrium with CO2 plus calcium oxide. What this indicates, quantity of calcium carbonate, carbon dioxide and calcium oxide is attaining the equilibrium, that is all three of them become same in a quantity after certain time, and this is nothing but the equilibrium. Correct? Calcium carbonate is present in solid state, carbon dioxide in gaseous state, calcium oxide in solid state. So there are solid and gaseous phases of the substances which have attained equilibrium. Correct? So in this chapter or in this particular topic, we are going to study this type of equilibrium only. And what are the different types of equilibrium? The very first is liquid vapor equilibrium. As you can see in this diagram also, that in a 2 beaker we have placed some quantity of water which will be getting vaporized over the time, and after certain time in this closed beaker or in closed funnel, what we will be observing is liquid water and water vapors are going to be present in equal quantity, so that it will be setting up liquid vapor equilibrium. Simultaneously or in a same way, another type of equilibrium we will be studying, and that is nothing but liquid vapor equilibrium, that we have already studied, and solid liquid equilibrium. In this solid and liquid equilibrium, what is the example given? A mixture of ice and water placed in a perfectly insulated thermos flask at 273 Kelvin, that is at 0 degrees Celsius. You can imagine a refrigerator also for this particular purpose. Whenever we see the ice cubes which have been formed in ice tray, quite obviously the temperature of that particular zone in the refrigerator is about 0 degrees Celsius. And what we can see, vapors are coming out. Sometimes the liquid we can see inside the ice crystal, and obviously ice is present in solid state. So solid and liquid phase are in equilibrium at this particular temperature. Similarly, the third type of equilibrium is solid vapor equilibrium. And what is the example to be considered for this? These are the 3 different examples. Iodine is purple colored solid. Camphor we know that आरती की थाली में रखा जाने वाला कपूर, that is known as camphor. Camphor, iodine, ammonium chloride, all 3 of them are present in, as you can see, they are present in solid state naturally, but iodine undergoes sublimation. Sublimation is the process in which solid is directly converted into gases. So iodine sublime to gas, camphor is sublime to gas, ammonium chloride also sublime to gaseous state. But reversible arrow in all 3 of them indicates what? That gaseous iodine can again be converted into solid iodine, or gaseous camphor or gaseous ammonium chloride can again be converted into their solid states. But whenever quantity of solid and quantity of gaseous phase of the substance is in same amount, or it's the same quantity, what we say that solid and vapor phase of the substance is in equilibrium. Correct? So after this equilibrium, the next topic for discussion is the graph of forward and reverse or backward reaction. As you can see, the graph has been plotted over here for the 2 terms, concentration versus time. We know that concentration of reactants, it will be present with maximum quantity at initial time. Correct? So if I consider a reaction, as you can see over here, N2O4 reversibly giving 2NO2. Correct? N2O4 is our reactant and NO2 is our product. Correct? So initially, as you can see, at time t is equal to 0, blue colored line for N2O4, highest concentration over here, and as time moves on, its concentration decreases gradually, whereas yellow colored line at time t is equal to 0, what will be the product concentration? Obviously it's going to be 0, but as reaction proceeds, concentration of product also increases and then it reaches to the maximum value. But this dotted line, this dotted line indicates what? Yellow line and blue line moving parallelly. Parallelly means what? Their concentration is not further changed. Rather, surprisingly, the concentration is becoming equal, and this is the point of equilibrium. Correct? Chemical equilibrium. The quantity or concentration of both reactants and products have become equal. Correct? So, after this equilibrium, now the most important concept of this chapter we are going to study, that is rate of a reaction. How it is expressed? Let me explain over here. Rate of a reaction is nothing but change in concentration. In a simplest way I am explaining you, change in concentration per unit time. This is the simplest definition of a rate of a reaction, because in any chemical reaction which is taking place reversibly or unidirectionally, when reactants are getting converted into the products, concentration of both reactant and products continuously keeps on changing. So change in concentration, but concentration of exactly what? It will be either of reactants or of products per unit time. And reactant concentration continuously decreases, whereas concentration of product continuously increases. Correct? So whenever rate of reaction is given, rate is directly proportional to the concentration of reactants. Larger the amount of reactant is available, greater is the rate of a reaction. And how it is expressed? Let us see. Rate of any chemical reaction is given something as follows. Rate is equal to, this is our expression. This D of square bracket R for reactants, or D of P stands for what? This is smallest change. D by dt, this represents smallest change in concentration of reactant with unit time, or dP by dt indicates what? Smallest change in concentration of product with unit time. But dt, T stands for time, dt stands for what? Dt is smallest time interval. With the smallest time interval, there will be the smallest change in concentration of both reactants as well as products. But we have added a negative sign for reactant. This negative sign indicates what? Negative sign indicates decrease in the concentration of reactants. While for products, we have shown with positive sign only, because product concentration keeps on increasing, whereas reactant concentration keeps on decreasing. Correct? Further to this, let us study law of mass action. And what is the statement for the law? It states that rate of a chemical reaction at each instant is proportional to the concentration of all the reactant. Remember, all the reactants. So suppose A plus B giving C, this is our chemical reaction. According to this law of mass action, what I can express, rate is directly proportional to concentration of A and concentration of B. Correct? This is something in accordance with the statement of the law. Rate of a reaction is directly proportional to the concentration product of all the reactant. Whenever I am expressing this square bracketed entity, this square bracket between these two square bracket, dot is going to be present. Dot represents product. So product of concentration of A and concentration of B. This is according to the law of mass action. Correct? Further to this, after this law of mass action, what we are going to study is their expression. Rate is directly proportional to concentration of A into concentration of B. On removal of this proportionality sign with equal sign, we need to add a mathematical constant. This constant is K. Correct? This expression is known as rate equation, and this constant K is known as rate constant. Okay? So overall expression 12.1, this is our rate equation, and K involved in this equation is known as rate constant. After this rate of reaction, let us study how to express equilibrium constant for a reversible reaction. Suppose we are having a hypothetical reaction A plus B giving C plus D. Now A plus B altogether representing the reactants, C plus D altogether representing the products. So rate of a forward reaction is directly proportional to the concentration product of reactant, that is concentration of A and concentration of B. Similarly, for reversible reaction, C and D are going to be our reactants. So rate of a backward reaction or rate of reverse reaction, as you can see over here, it is directly proportional to the product of concentration of C and concentration of D. On removal of proportionality sign in each equation, we have added constant for forward and reverse reaction or for backward reaction. But what happens at equilibrium? At equilibrium, neither forward reaction favors nor backward reaction is favored. Rather, both of them carried forward with the same speed or at same rate. So at equilibrium, what we can write? Rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of reverse reaction. So that expression 12.2 and 12.3, equating them, Kf into concentration of A dot B is equal to Kr into concentration product of C and D. Change the sides. Kf upon Kr is equal to concentration of C into concentration of D upon concentration product of A into B. But constant for forward reaction upon constant for reverse or backward reaction. One constant divided by another constant or multiplied by another constant will give us new constant, and that new constant we have denoted with Kc, where Kc is known as equilibrium constant. But this equilibrium constant in terms of concentration. Correct? But if we reverse the reaction, students, on reverse of reaction, what we can study? Now you can see this is reverse reaction. Now C and D are the reactants for forward reaction. A and B will be the reactants for backward reaction. So K dash C, what is K dash C? As you can see over here, reciprocal of Kc, because the reaction is reversed. So obviously this expression will also be reversed, isn't it? So, but one thing is very sure, in above reaction also, as you can see, along with capital A, capital B, capital C and capital D, which were representing our reactants and products, now we have A, B, C and D in small letters also, where small a, b, c, d representing stoichiometric coefficients, and equilibrium constant expression Kc changes to what? C raised to C, that is concentration term raised to its stoichiometric coefficient. Concentration term raised to its stoichiometric coefficient. In denominator also we will execute the same principle, A raised to A and B raised to B. If we apply this principle to the specific example, as you can see over here, for ammonia formation, Kc, concentration of product that is concentration of ammonia raised to 2, that is stoichiometric coefficient of ammonia, upon concentration of N2 and H2, but here 3 is the stoichiometric coefficient of hydrogen, so raised to 3 we have notified. On reversal of reaction, expression is also reversed. As you can see, denominator has turned to numerator. K dash C is nothing but reciprocal of Kc, correct? So once Kc is studied, that is equilibrium constant in terms of concentration, let us have a look at Kp, that is equilibrium constant in terms of pressure, but for that all the reactants and products must be in gaseous state. But whenever gases are present, their pressure plays an important role. Partial pressure of A, B, C and D, which are represented as PA, PB, PC and PD respectively. Instead of taking their concentration now, we have expressed equilibrium constant in terms of their partial pressures. So product of their partial pressures upon product of their partial pressures of reactants, Pc raised to C into Pd raised to D upon Pa raised to A and Pb raised to B. Make correction over here also, correct? Small a, small b, small c, small d will represent stoichiometric coefficients. I hope this concept is very much clear to you. Then further to this, equilibrium constant in terms of Kc and Kp, if we consider that all the reactants and products present in gaseous state behaves ideally, then by ideal gas equation Pb is equal to nRT, Pa, that is partial pressure due to component A, it is proportional to its number of moles, that is quantity of A present in the system will have its corresponding partial pressure. But on arranging, this equation can be arranged Pa is equal to Na by V, just arrangement. Na by V into RT, number of moles per unit volume is nothing but concentration, and square bracket term indicates what? Molar concentration. So Pa is equal to concentration of ART. Similarly, for partial pressures Pb, Pc and Pd, we will be having these respective terms, correct? Now, after these terms that we have obtained, how the Kp and Kc can be related? Same reaction where A, B, C, D, all reactants and products are present in gaseous state. Expression for Kp is given as product of partial pressures of the product upon product of partial pressure of the reactants. But from the above expression, what is Pa? Pa is equal to concentration of ART. For Pa, Pb, Pc and Pd, we have substituted their concentration terms, correct? Now get RT as common, so we will be left with this particular term over here, C raised to C into D raised to D upon A raised to A into B raised to B, expressing nothing but Kc, that is equilibrium constant in terms of concentration, C plus D, total number of moles of product, A plus B, total number of moles of reactant. RT is common, so take this term in numerator, so RT raised to C plus D minus A plus B, N2, that is number of moles of product, minus N1, number of moles of reactant. Change in number of moles is expressed as delta N. So Kc is equal to C raised to C, D raised to D upon A raised to A into B raised to B, and the overall expression changes to what? Kp is equal to Kc into RT raised to delta N. This is the relationship between Kp and Kc. After this expression, there is two different types of equilibria for our context, that is homogeneous and heterogeneous equilibria. For homogeneous equilibrium, what is the condition? That all the reactants are in same phase. This is homogeneous reaction, and equilibrium for this particular reaction will be known as homogeneous equilibria. With examples, we can see over here. Whenever all reactants and products are present in same state of the matter, it represents homogeneous equilibrium. Whenever reactants and products are present in different states of the matter, it is representing heterogeneous equilibrium. I hope you get these two types of equilibrium very well. Now, equilibrium constant for heterogeneous equilibrium. As you can see, in very first example, water liquid turning to water vapor, state of the matter is different in this reaction. So, obviously, equilibrium attained is not homogeneous, rather it is heterogeneous equilibrium. Similarly, ethanol liquid turning to ethanol vapor following heterogeneous equilibrium. For these equilibriums, what we can write expression of equilibrium constant as concentration of product upon concentration of reactant. Correct? But the thing to note is, in this example, concentration of liquid ethanol is going to be 1. Why? Because ethanol is mostly remaining in its solid state ethanol is remaining in its liquid state only. So, concentration of liquid phase of ethanol is taken as 1. So, Kc is nothing but concentration of gaseous ethanol only. So, at any given temperature, density is constant irrespective of the amount of liquid, and the term in the denominator is also constant. Correct? Similarly, this particular expression we can apply to iodine solid to iodine gas also. For this, Kc can be expressed as concentration of I2 upon concentration of I2, the above in gaseous state, denominator in solid state. Iodine, as per the underlined statement, term in the denominator is also constant. If this is going to be constant, Kc is equal to I2 gas. I hope you are very well getting how to derive these particular expressions. Now, units of equilibrium constant. For different reactions, we will be having different units of Kc. For the very first, hydrogen and iodine on combination giving 2Hi. As per equilibrium constant Kc, concentration of product raised to 2, that is its stoichiometric coefficient, upon concentration of reactant. Units of Kc, mole per dm cube. Concentration is having very common unit of mole per dm cube. So, mole per dm cube raised to 2 upon mole per dm cube for hydrogen and mole per dm cube for iodine. On squaring, what we get is mole per dm cube, the whole square will get cancelled in numerator and denominator. As there is no term left out, Kc has no unit for the reaction 1, that is on left hand side. But on right hand side, you can see ammonia, concentration of ammonia raised to 2 upon concentration of nitrogen and concentration of hydrogen raised to 3. 3 is the stoichiometric coefficient of hydrogen. Substitute the common unit mole per dm cube raised to 2 in numerator, mole per dm cube for hydrogen into mole per dm cube raised to 3. On squaring or on cubing, what we left out with is mole per dm cube raised to -2, that is mole raised to -2 into cubic decimeter the square, that is dm raised to 6. Minus of minus becomes plus. So, as the reaction varies, unit of Kc accordingly varies. This is about units of equilibrium constant. Then after this we are having characteristics of equilibrium. Now to note down important point, the value of equilibrium constant, that is Kc or Kp, it is independent of initial concentration of either reactants or products. Equilibrium constant is temperature dependent, that is value of Kc and both Kp changes with change in temperature. If we increase the temperature, Kc and Kp increases. If we decrease the temperature, Kc and Kp decreases. Equilibrium constant has characteristic value for a particular reversible reaction. As the reaction changes, Kc and Kp value accordingly changes. Fourth one, higher the value of Kc and Kp means more concentration of product is formed, that is forward reaction has been favored, correct? Greater the value of or lower the value of Kc and Kp or greater the value of K-C or K-P, backward reaction is favored. Now applications of equilibrium, where we can apply this particular principle of equilibrium to predict the direction of the reaction, whether forward reaction is favorable or backward reaction is favorable, we can apply the principle of equilibrium constant as we had discussed. Greater the value of Kc, forward reaction is favored. Greater the value of K-C, we know that K-C is reciprocal of Kc, correct? Then we come across with a new concept of reaction coefficient also, or reaction quotient. Reaction quotient is denoted with Qc. Qc is again expressed with the same term, product of concentration of product upon product of concentration of reactant, but this need not to be, I will write, this need not to be equilibrium concentration, whereas whenever we express Kc and Kp with the same term, they need to be our equilibrium concentration. Then what is the relation between Qc and Kc? Remember, Qc is reaction quotient, Kc is equilibrium constant. In a diagram also it had been shown, when Qc is less than Kc, it is moving towards equilibrium. Reversely, when Qc is greater than Kc, again it is moving to equilibrium. So at equilibrium, what is the condition? Qc is exactly equal to Kc. Correct? But what are the inferences drawn? When Qc is less than Kc, that is very first diagram, reaction will proceed from left to right, that is forward direction is favored. When Qc is greater than Kc, backward reaction is favored. So process or reaction to be at equilibrium, the condition to be mentioned is Qc must be equal to Kc. I hope till this you are very much clear with the concept. Now the next topic is to calculate the equilibrium concentration. This is more about the numerical part, which we will be dealing specially in our numerical sessions. The chapters numerical, chemical equilibrium numericals will be purely based on the concept of equilibrium constant in terms of Kc and Kp. Further, how to determine the rate of any given chemical reaction. Now we will be seeing what happens when rate of a forward and backward reaction varies and when it becomes marginally equal. When Kf is greater than Kc, as we know, Kc is the ratio of Kf upon Kr. That is rate constant for forward reaction to the rate constant of reverse or backward reaction. When Kf is greater than Kc, obviously Kc is very large. When Kc is large, reaction goes almost to completion. And when Kc is large, forward reaction is favored. But when Kf is approximately equal to Kr, or they are almost equal to Kr, Kc is going to be nearly 1. When Kc is exactly 1, remember students, when value of equilibrium constant is exactly 1, reaction never goes to completion. This is very important statement or point to note, that whenever Kc value is 1, reaction never gets completed. Rather, comparable concentration of reactants and products are present at equilibrium. This is the relation between Kf and Kc. Now coming to the next important topic in this chapter, which might be the last important topic of this chapter, is Le-Chatelain's principle and factors which affects the composition of equilibrium or alters the composition of equilibrium. Now, what principle states, the actual statement for the principle is, it states that when a system at equilibrium is subjected to a change in any of the factors determining the equilibrium conditions of a system will respond in such a way as to minimize the effect of change. In a simplest way, I will explain it to you. Suppose we are having a reversible reaction, A giving B, but this is reversible reaction. Suppose I increased a pressure on A, ठीक है, मैंने A का प्रेशर बढ़ा दिया. सपोज A एंड B दोनों गैसियस स्टेट में है, तो A का प्रेशर बढ़ाने से क्या होगा? ऑब्वियसली वॉल्यूम ऑफ द सिस्टम विल डिक्रीज एंड फॉरवर्ड रिएक्शन इज फेवर्ड, करेक्ट? बट according to the Le-Chatelain's principle, if reversible reaction is there, there must be equilibrium attained by the system at a particular span of time. लेकिन अगर A का प्रेशर बढ़ता है तो फॉरवर्ड रिएक्शन फेवर हो रहा है. What does it mean? That equilibrium is shifted to right or towards the product. Correct? And this is the actual effect of Le-Chatelain's principle. Whenever we increase the pressure or volume or temperature, or if we add the catalyst, but remember, catalyst does not affect the equilibrium, it affects the rate of a reaction. So due to increase or decrease or change in pressure, volume, temperature or concentration of the reactant, we can alter the position of equilibrium either towards left or towards right, and this principle is actually used in an industry also. The best example of this Le-Chatelain's principle application is manufacture of ammonia in industry. How does it take place? Let us see. For that, what are the influencing factor? Change in concentration. If we increase the concentration of reactants, more number of collision will be occurring in a system, which will be leading to the more concentration of product, and hence we say that equilibrium is shifted to the right or towards the product side. Further, if we increase the pressure, as we have discussed earlier, with increase in pressure, volume of the system decreases, correct? And we know that according to the ideal gas equation also, P is inversely proportional to V. What does it mean? On increasing pressure, volume of the system decreases, so number of molecules will come close to each other, leading to the maximum number of collisions, and hence equilibrium shift towards right again. Further, effect of pressure, the third factor. On increasing the temperature, kinetic energy of the molecules, reactant molecules, increases. Increased kinetic energy means maximum number of collisions, correct? Maximum collision means maximum product formation, and hence equilibrium again shift towards right. But effect of catalyst, as I have already told you, catalyst does not affect equilibrium, it affects the rate of a reaction. So with the addition of catalyst, if rate of a forward reaction increases 2 times, then rate of backward reaction must also be increased with 2 times, and hence catalyst does not affect equilibrium. Again, it affects the rate of a chemical reaction. And manufacture of ammonia by Haber's process is the best example of application of Le-Chatelain's principle, because both the reactants, nitrogen as well as hydrogen, and product form, that is ammonia, all are present in gaseous state, where we can study the change in pressure, change in volume, or change in concentration, change in temperature very well in accordance with the Le-Chatelain's principle. This is all about chemical equilibrium. I hope you understood all the concepts very well. Stay tuned with the Study Live. Thank you.